Hello everyone, Bridget Casey with Bridget Casey Designs here today for ScrapbookPal.com. Today, here's a sneak peek of the project we're working on. We are working with Honeybee Stamps, Polar Pals, stamps and dies today. We're going to get started with a piece of Neenah Classic Crest Solar White 80-pound cardstock and our Misty stamping tool. We'll lay out our polar bear, our bird, and our penguin, and stamp them with Lawn Fawn Jet Black Alcohol Marker Safe ink. And I'm stamping a few times. I want to make sure to get a nice crisp black line, and my ink pad may be a scotch dry, so it's not a good idea to squish your image because you can distort the lines. It's a better idea to stamp a couple of times to get a nice solid line. I was also getting a little bit of fur from the dear Emery, so I picked up the penguin, put him on a block, and I hand stamped him for a few extras. I also wanted to stamp a sentiment to go on both of our cards with Versafine Clair Nocturne ink so that I can use some Lawn Fawn clear embossing powder on it. I did not treat my paper, so I am going to pay for that just a little bit. I do that off camera so you don't have to watch me with my little paintbrush, but you will see it here in a second. There it is. And so now we're going to heat set our sentiments and we'll get to coloring. So I begin with W3, then we'll go to W1 and then W00. I did my best to keep the caps in frame, and I was, let's just say, more than a little off. So I will make sure to repeat as we go through the colors I used on each of the critters that we used. So again, the polar bear is W3, W1, and W00. I have a bad habit of holding them in my hand when I color, so I broke that and actually did put them down. They were just literally a scotch out of sight. The penguin uses C8, C6, and C4 for the darker portion, and W3 and W00 for the lighter portion. WR68 for the nose and the toes on the penguin and the bird. And the bird is going to be the beautiful B99, 97, and 95. This is one of my favorite combos. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to get these die cut, and you will notice that I have doubles and I only colored one on screen. I did color another set off camera so that we can create two projects, and it saved us a little bit of time. If I had known that my caps were out of the way, I would have kept filming, but I do apologize for that. I try to be very aware of that, and it's been interesting. Yeah, and as you can see, I have a little furry helper that likes to pop in from time to time. All right, so now we're going to go ahead, and I did trim these down. I need a new plate for my bigger die cut machine, so I used my little Mighty Mini, as I call it, and trimmed out all of my bears and my penguins and my birds and my sentiments so that we can have some fun creating. And this really, it's a 3-inch by a 6-inch, so it's a good size and it cuts a lot of things. I do like the bigger one to mass produce cut, but you know, this one is really good, say in a pinch when you don't have a big plate. Or you have a bunch of little images that you want to cut. So we're getting these all cut out to sweet, and we will get this last little bit cut out. We can't forget the cute little penguin or the cute little bird, and there's Snowbody sentiments. So we'll get those cut out, and then you'll see everything laid out there. Now we're going to get started. We have some Yupo paper, and then we also have Cobalt, the alcohol ink by Ranger, and I'm using some blending solution to move that around, as well as my blower. The blending solution is in that clear long pipette that you see me bringing in. Then we're going to be using next Boysenberry, Fiesta, and Valencia. I was trying to create water on the bottom, that cobalt color, and then the Boysenberry, Fiesta, and Valencia, I was trying to create like a really pretty sunset in the sky. I had a vision. I wanted to create a little iceberg to set the polar bear on, and then put it in the middle of my quote-unquote cobalt ocean, and I had an image, and it did not work out the way I thought it would, as many projects often don't. So because I didn't want them to bleed into each other, you'll notice that I put on blending solution, and then I tilt and tip my Yupo paper to kind of direct the blending solution where I want it to go. If a little of the cobalt bleeds into a little bit of the boysenberry, it's okay, but I'd prefer not to. Another perk of using a potty pad is that I can just allow the blending solution to run off, and the fabric of the potty pad picks up the excess liquid, and I don't have to worry about that being in my way. So if you haven't thought of a cheap solution, a potty pad is a great way to go for ink sprays and alcohol inks. Okay, so then I took Cobalt, Boysenberry, Fiesta, Valencia, and Patina, and thought, why not make just a wild and crazy, really pretty background? So I did that, and then the Valencia was really sticking out to me, and I wasn't super stoked about it on there. I'm going to go with it because it's on there. But I am adding more of the patina, which is that tealy, beautiful color, on there with some blending solution and moving stuff around, trying not to really focus on that Valencia color. I thought I would like it, and it just didn't work out the way I envisioned it. Do you guys have that happen too? I'd love to know. So I've got some blending solution because I was getting some dots that I wasn't super stoked about. So I put a good bit about on there, which helps me to really, really move the alcohol inks around. And I'm just kind of blowing it around to help dry it at this point a little bit. And then, I can also tip it up a little bit and let some run off. Now we have a piece of Yupo paper, and all my Yupo paper is 5x7, and I have just patina on there because I want to make my icebergs. So I'm making sure my bear was big enough to fit on there. I actually did this piece first, so I didn't even think about doing two so that I could have two icebergs. I just did enough for one and then made it into two cards. So here we go. I'm trimming this down to 4.5 by 6.5 because I realized if I would have done it to 4.25 by 5.5, I would have lost a lot of one color, and I didn't want to, so I left that there. The other 5x7 piece I trimmed to 5 by 3.5. And this one, I just trimmed to where the alcohol ink ran out and then cut it in half. And then I trimmed out this little shape. It looks like a pool. I thought it looked like an iceberg, and wow, it really doesn't. So I'm making it work because that's what we crafters do. We're making it work, and I didn't have a choice because I really didn't have that much Yupo paper left over. I forgot about that extra piece I cut off until just now, so I guess I could have, but anyways, we're going to make it work. On this piece, I did something brilliant. I trimmed along the alcohol ink line, and I liked that jaggedy look, and I was like, ooh, if only I could do that on the whole piece. And then I was like, oh, wait, I can. I have scissors. Here I go. And so there's my iceberg. I love that iceberg, even though a lot of it's covered up. I still love it. I'm so happy with it. And so I'm going to commit to that. I'm going to use some thin 3D foam squares to attach that down. And yes, you did just see a cat head. I tried to edit it out as best as possible, but it's still there a little bit. She loves to help. She loves to craft. So we're putting that down with our thin 3D foam squares, and then we're going to attach that, trim it off, and then put our little bear into position. So I'm going to put some thin 3D foam squares on just the bottom of him because I don't want it to stick to the top. I just want it in that bottom. And then I am going to put 2 on the back of my little penguin. I love these foam squares because they have 2 sizes, the big squares and the little squares. And I love the bird, and he looks so cute, like trying to fly there. So that's what I ended up. I put double of 1 foam square on the back of the bird, and it looks like the penguin just lifting him up for a little Bedouin kiss. Very, very cute. And then I put the little foam squares on the back of my sentiment, and I'm going to attach that into place, and voila. Beautiful. Happy, happy. And then it will sit on a white panel, which we will glue down in a minute. But I wanted to finish off this panel first, and then I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh gosh, this is so bad, so bad. I've got to fix it. And I think my lines were just too straight. So curvy, we'll go with curvy because they're so not straight. I think if they would have been more jagged like the other one, I might have liked it better. So what I did was I just trimmed off that big piece because it's going to be behind the bear, so it's okay. And on this one, I put the thin 3D foam squares onto my quote-unquote iceberg, and then my little bear, I will use some Tombow permanent adhesive tape runner on the back, and I just put it on that side where he would be sitting on the iceberg and glued that on. And then I have my little penguin, and I dropped the bird, and the bird would have been so cute there. But I really wanted him up on the head, kind of, you know, playing with the bear and the penguin all at once. So, because it says snow buddy like you, I want them all together and snuggly and cute. So here I go. I'm using the big ones and the little ones on the back of my sentiment. Again, why I love these. And they're very thin, which is wonderful. So now we're going to use some old foam tape I just had laying around, so to speak, on what I call my work surface, which is a collection of crafty goodies. And so I'm going to use that just because it was handy. And we will put that into the center of the A2 panel right here. And there are the 2 cards. I hope you check out this super cute and adorbs set and your alcohol inks. Make sure to head on over to the ScrapbookPal.com YouTube channel. You never know what we're creating next. Until next time, happy crafting.